Hello everyone, welcome you all to today's topic. In the first video, we saw the introduction of the two books which is used in your 11th standard. So my dear student, before beginning of the story, I would like to request you all please open the book Hornbill. Before going deep inside the book, let me tell you that today I'll tell you a brief summary of this story and the introduction about Kushwant Singh, the story The Portrait of a Lady, written by Kushwant Singh. So here you can see an image of an old lady standing, right, with the help of a stick, an old lady, and this is the main protagonist or the main character of the entire story, right? And the writer Kushwant Singh. Before beginning, let me ask you few questions. Do you love your grandma? Have you ever thought anything about your grandma? Or have you written something about your grandma? Or is there someone who doesn't like grandma? But if I tell my opinion, then I'll say that everyone in the world loves their grandmas, right? And I can see many of you love your grandma. Now let us see the main second protagonist. You can see this old man on the screen. This is the writer who is named as Kushwant Singh. As I asked you that have you ever written something about your grandma or do you love your grandma? And I know everyone love your grandma. So now let us see this old man named Kushwant Singh what he has written about grandma. What is the thing that he is attracted, he loved his grandma, and what compelled him to write the story that is your first chapter, A Portrait of a Lady. Not the lady, a single lady, and that to be his grandma, right? And I request everyone that after hearing this entire or watching this entire story, I want each of you to paste a photograph. It can be a passport size photograph. Just paste it in a piece of paper of your grandma and try to write at least 5 sentences or at least half a paragraph or the feelings that is coming out. I know it cannot be stopped, right, for your grandma whom you love. So you can write and you can upload in our common group, 11th group. I want each of you, whoever watched this video, will definitely write a few lines, a poem for his or her grandma. Let me know, let us exchange, let us convey to each other that what is the hidden beauty of our grandma, that we love our grandma. I want each of you, if you are an artist, I know my students, there are many who draw beautifully. So I want the person, if you are able to draw, then it's very good. If you are not able to draw, just paste a passport size photograph on a single page and write few lines at least about your grandma. It can be a poem or it can be a paragraph. Just describe your grandma. Now let us know more about Kushwant Singh. Who is this Kushwant Singh? Okay, so Kushwant Singh, he was born on 2nd Feb 1915, Hadali, Pakistan, and died on 20th March 2014, Sujan Singh Park, Delhi. and his education was GCU Punjab University, College of London, the Dickson Poon School of Law, and Stephens College. And you can see the awards, that is Padma Bhushan, Padma Vibhushan, Punjab Ratna, Ratan Award. So this is the achievement by Khushwant Singh, and it's a real story, my dear student. And you can, after reading this story, you will be really happy and you will feel the exact feelings of that attachment. Right? Now let us move to a picture and think about it. Where do we see this image? I hope you can see the screen and you can see the image of rosary beads. Yes, I know you are acquainted with this image. You know about this image, that in our family we used to chant with this beads by uttering the beautiful name, that is the Almighty's name, right? So here this grandma, he's describing that the grandma is old and she used to chant. She used to hold in one of his hand and she used to chant daily. Right? So now I'll tell you in a simple way a short summary of the story, and in the next video we'll go in details line wise. Right? Now let us see the screen. Khushwant Singh. It is the first chapter of the book where the author describes her grandmother and his relation with her. As I told you, the beautiful relation is being depicted here, right? The relation between the two protagonists. Here, in every story, we find one protagonist, but here there are two protagonists, that is Khushwant Singh and Khushwant Singh's grandmother. He has beautifully penned down what she did all the day when she was old. So Khushwant Singh is writing down all the beautiful moments of his grandma, right? So the explanation of her appearance in the prose piece is remarkable. Here prose piece means elaborate form, a story type, not a poem type. It shows how niftily the author can draw a character with his words. For example, sometimes if I say, if you draw a single image, even after looking the image also, we can describe the entire story of that particular image, what it is trying to say us or convey us. Similarly, here through words, he is trying to explain the entire appearance of his grandma in front of us. Isn't it so beautiful? Even though we are not able to draw, but our words describe the entire scenario of a particular character. So the explanation of her appearance in the prose piece is remarkable, and it shows how niftily the author can draw a character with his words. So to understand the chapter well enough, let us move to the next slide. Now, here we came to know that the words have the power to show us the entire scenario of a lady who is not present in front of us right now. And here the grandson is trying to depict the entire character through his words. So he's trying to explain many things that we need to understand. So the context of this prose piece should be properly analyzed so that we can answer the question properly. So the story should be in details so that it should touch our heart, and whenever from any point if someone asks you a question, then you will be able to give answer spontaneously without giving a thought to a brain that what happened, right? So let us know more about Khushwant Singh, that what he is trying to say about the grandma. and let us relate that feelings to our own grandma and try to draw or try to paste a beautiful picture along with few lines for our grandma. Now, in this story, the chapter circles around the author and his grandmother. As I told you, in the story, we will find two protagonists or the two main characters, that is, grandma and the author. She is very old. Who? Grandma. And her face was wrinkled. The author watched her grandma getting old. Definitely, everyone is not eternal, or we cannot say that everyone will stay with us for lifelong. Definitely, we need to accept death. So here the grandma is getting old, and he said that he has been seeing her in this condition for past 2 decades, and all her hair has grayed and cascades on her face in a messy way. She wore white clothes and walked around inside the house. She was not strong enough to stand tall. She rather kept an arm on her waist for support. In the first image, I saw you that a lady was holding a stick to support her own body. So here the writer is saying that she wore white cloth and she kept on moving inside the house. She was not strong enough to stand tall. She rather kept an arm on her waist for support, and the other hand always holds a string of rosary beads. My dear student, as I told you, we use rosary beads for chanting the beautiful name of Almighty. Similarly, just imagine this image of that grandmother, right? She is bowing down, she is holding a stick for support, and the other hand she is holding a rosary beads, right? And she is very beautiful. He compared her face and the calmness in it with a wintry landscape. My dear student, as I have already told you, in every story, in every poem, we will find figurative language. So here again there is a comparison. So the face is being compared with the calmness, with the silence of a wintry landscape. Winter season landscape, right? Now find it out whether this line is a metaphor or a simile and tell me what exactly it is. So when he stayed in the village, her grandmother used to wake him up every day very early and clean his wooden slate. The small slate where he used to read, where he used to write something. Grandmother cleaned his wooden slate, and she made breakfast for him and dressed him for school. When the author returned from school, it was she who always accompanied him, and they both let the dogs eat the stale chapatis. Stale chapatis means it's not fresh chapati, okay? And it was a blissful time. It was a beautiful time that they both enjoyed their companies. So see how beautiful this grandmother is. Even though she is an old lady, she's taking care like a mother. She used to clean the wooden slate, she used to prepare breakfast, she used to leave him to the school, and even they give food, the stale chapatis, to the dogs. They fed the dog. And here the face is being compared with the calmness of the wintry landscape. How beautiful it is, right? So I hope many of you have already related this all feeling with your own grandma, and I know that my dears intellectual students will definitely write at least a paragraph for their own grandma. The moment you spend with your grandma, what was that you love your grandma too much? What is that you are loving your grandma? What is that you're not able to forget your grandma? And I tell you that no one should forget their grandma. whatever it is. They take care like our mother, right? They tell us lots of lullaby, they tell us lots of story, and many of the things are still there in our hearts, and it is there as well. So I hope I have cleared my concepts, and I hope my student will definitely pen down something about their grandma, right? Now, this portrait of a lady described that this sweet relationship took a different turn when they went to a city. Now, they were living in a village, and if you shift from a village to a town, then definitely the scenario, the feelings, the relationships changes. Let us see how it changed. His grandmother was not able to take him to the school as the bus arrived to pick him up. So in the village, grandmother used to leave Kushwant Singh in the school, but in city it can't be possible. So here the bus come to pick him up. So she used to participate in his studies, but now the author studies English, maths, physics, which is very tough for a grandma to teach you, right? Okay. So which she could not understand at all. Definitely it's out of boundary, right? So she cannot understand this subject. It seemed that his grandmother made her life circle around his grandson. Now that she cannot go to school, she felt upset sitting idle at home. So sad. See the life of a village and a city. In a village, you are closely connected to your grandma, but in a city, it vanishes. As the days passes by, you won't be all the time a small kid running after your grandma, or your grandma will be caring all the time. A time will come when you need to leave the hands of your grandma and walk alone by yourself. Similarly, here in the story, Kushwant Singh needs higher education, and definitely as the days passes by, he pursued his higher education, and a day comes when he needs to leave the hand of his grandma, and due to which the grandma is left alone in the home, and she felt upset sitting idle at home, right? They both love each other's company, but we cannot give all our time spending together. Definitely, we need to move on in every step of our life, whether it's a mother, whether it's a father, whether it's a sibling, anything. Now, definitely she will be disappointed because now she is alone. She cannot help herself because now the bus is coming to pick him up. She cannot force herself that, okay, my dear grandson, come, let's move to the school, let me leave there and come back. No. So, in that case, she became upset as the school did not teach. And one more thing, she was not happy with the teaching of the school because the school were not teaching holy scriptures and gods. Here you can see the line. She was disappointed that the school did not teach about holy scriptures and God. These teachings have been replaced by music lessons and other extracurricular subjects as you are doing right now in your school. So nowadays everything has changed. Now we are not reading about the holy scriptures and the lessons of God. So for this reason she was a bit upset, grandma. And instead of that, nowadays what we are doing? We are replacing that particular subject, or we are using as a substitute that music lessons or extracurricular activity, we can say, or subjects. And here the writer grew up and studied at a university. As I told you, that for your higher education, in order to pursue higher education, you need to move on, you need to leave your grandma or father or mother or brother and sisters, and you need to move forward to complete your education. Similarly, here, as the days passes by, as he grew up, he left the place and he went to a university. And the school days are over now. he also got a different room in the house. Because when you're small, you sleep with your granny or with your mother, father, or sister. But when you are grown up, you have a separate room for yourself, right? You need a lonely space. You need a space where you can do peacefully whatever you want. So similarly, as the days passes by, as he grew up, he had a separate room in the house. And in this way, what happened? They both created, or there was a gap, as the formation of gap was done or made as the days passes by, because he need to move on in his life. So in this way, the link between the grandmother and grandson were lost, right? So in this story, you will find that she really talked with any family member. Who? Grandma. And she worked on her spinning wheel. Spinning wheel, have you seen the spinning wheel of Mahatma Gandhi? Right. The same thing like that. She worked on her spinning wheel, prayed and fed the birds in the garden. That means she was an animal lover, as I already told you, that she used to give stale chapatis to the dog. Similarly, she fed the birds in the garden. And the writer then got a chance to study abroad. When he was leaving, his grandmother did not show any disturbance. He thought that it was the last time maybe he's seeing his old grandmother. So sad, right? So here this, while pursuing or while moving to abroad, he thought that it was the last time that he's meeting his grandmother, and he left the place. Isn't it so sad? Yes. Now, here the writer completed his study and returned home after 5 years. And at that time, she was old, but did not miss the chance to celebrate the return of his grandson. That means when he returned, he did not miss the chance, and she welcomed the grandson. And the next day, she fell ill with a fever, and she foresaw that it was her time to leave everyone behind for the eternal journey. That means the very next day she was suffering from fever, and she came to know that this was the time to leave the body and leave everyone. And she was right. She did not want to waste her time talking. She prayed with her rosary beads until her lips stopped moving. In short summary, if I say about this story, A Portrait of a Lady, you will find that the sparrows perched beside her with absolute silence. All the birds flew away when her body was taken for cremation. So think, even the animals, even the birds, even though they don't have words to convey us, but still their silence says lot of thing to us. When the body left for cremation, at that time, or the funeral ceremony, we can say, at that time, the birds which were present around kept silent and flew away, because they also came to know that now the grandma who fed them is no more in this world. She has left the body. And now the entire scenario is so silent. How beautiful this story is. My dear student, I hope this was a blueprint to your story, A Portrait of a Lady by Khushwant Singh. In our next video, we'll come up with detailed line-wise explanation. I hope this will help you out, and I hope you have created the curiosity inside your hearts that definitely you'll read the book. definitely you'll turn up and read the book. So remember my homework. I'll be waiting for your homework. Till then, have a nice day. Thank you all. Stay blessed.